Good morning. This is Jeremiah Gibson with the New England Association for Family and Systemic Therapy. I'm here with a familiar face this morning, Nancy Knudsen. Nancy is the co-founder and co-director of the Couple and Family Institute of New England, and also past president of the Massachusetts Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. Thanks so much for joining me this morning, Nancy.
Thank you for having me, Jeremiah. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. We're excited to announce and to promote a symposium that CFINE is hosting on October the 26th, because it's Saturday, in Northampton. And we'll get to that in a minute. But Nancy, I'm also curious just to learn a little bit more about CFINE, some of the work that you're doing with the Couple and Family Institute in New England.
Yes. Well, after being the president of the Massachusetts Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, I had a lot of experience in running conferences and events and learning how to promote the field throughout the state of Massachusetts, and also to participate on a national level in promoting our field of marriage and family therapy. And it made sense that I wanted to continue offering training to younger professionals and professionals from other mental health disciplines who didn't have the same level of training in systems thinking and systemic kinds of therapies.
Yeah.
So the vision was to both continue doing some of the programs that I do for couples. I run couples retreats 3 or 4 times a year. But also to continue to offer trainings in emotionally focused therapy, which is a specialty area of mine, and in other systemic approaches, and to give back to the community. So it was a vision that my husband, Jack Lafort, who's also a past president of the Massachusetts Association of Marriage and Family Therapy, and a fellow visionary about giving back to this generation of new therapists coming down the pike, to set up this institute and to offer a variety of possible trainings for professionals. So last year we did our very first symposium, and it was on becoming a family.
It was great.
And we had 5 different speakers, and we had a panel similar to this year. This year, we are really excited to be offering this this symposium on sexual and gender identities,
Right.
to really expose people more fully to the very current changing landscape of this field, which a lot of us, particularly older therapists, know very little about.
Sure.
And even younger therapists can have a hard time staying up to date.
Right. And particularly in a culture, in a context where we don't commonly talk about sexuality, let alone sexual identity, sexual orientation, gender identity, those types of things. So I think that this conference is going to be great as well. It's called Sexual Identity, Gender Identity, Staying Current in a Rapidly Changing Landscape. And again, the date is Saturday, October 26th in Northampton. I'm curious, what are some of the takeaways that you're hoping attendees will get out of this conference?
Well, this year we're starting with 2 keynotes by some excellent experts in the field that I've pulled together, one specifically on sexual identity and one on gender identity. And the new piece that most people don't yet understand is that this field is now being looked at as a spectrum rather than as a duality of you're either this or you're that.
Sure. Kinsey
and so what I'm hoping that at the very beginning of the day, that everybody will feel that they're getting up-to-date information that will help them feel more confident about knowing the vocabulary, knowing the latest thinking, and just being able to converse with clients and with other professionals with a new base of knowledge. So that's the first half of that's the first part of the day. Then we're planning to have a complex case presentation and have all the presenters be panelists to talk about the case, because all of us want to know, how do we apply this information to actual cases?
Sure.
What does it look like when we are faced with a couple or a family where one member is questioning either sexual or gender identity, and it
Right.
has an impact not just on that individual, but on the whole system.
Yeah.
There may be children involved, there may be extended family involved that are unsupportive or simply confused
Sure.
and uncertain how to relate to the individual who's expressing a desire to shift their sexual or gender identity.
Hmm.
And maybe there's even a partner that is feeling grief about the transition.
Right.
So that's the idea in our second half of the morning, is
Yeah.
to really help people not to begin to apply these ideas to an actual case.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and then in the afternoon, we're offering a variety of workshops that people can choose from. And we have a track that is focused more on couples
Hmm.
and relationships.
Yeah.
And we have a track that is focused more on youth and how to deal with families where there are youth that are questioning their gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
We have a workshop on sexuality and aging.
Hmm.
We have a workshop on looking at our own biases
Yeah.
and self of the therapist issues when we're sitting with people whose experiences are so different from our own.
Which is
So,
huge. Yeah.
yeah, so I think we have a really nice range of offerings here.
Yeah. Yeah, it really seems like it. Nancy, I'm thinking about what you said at the beginning about vocabulary and having kind of a common having a common vocabulary between therapists and the clients that we're working with. One of the challenges with regards to sexual orientation, gender identity, is that the language is commonly shifting,
Yes,
and it's also very personalized. Language that I might use to define a certain experiences for me may be different from the language that another person uses to define a really similar set of experiences. So I guess I'm curious, what are some therapeutic skills that you're hoping attendees also get out of this conference?
well, certainly we want to learn from our clients.
Mm-hmm.
We want to humble ourselves as clinicians
Mm-hmm.
to really collaborate with our clients to learn about their experience, to learn about what it is like to be inside our clients' reality, and family members as well, because they
Yeah.
may not share vocabulary even with their own family members. So we have to be very humble in this process
Yeah.
of learning to collaborate as we learn from them. What do we have to offer here? We have um, a wonderful skill as family therapists, as couples therapists, to be able to make room for multiple realities.
Yeah.
For and that is a gift to any couple or family that is struggling with how to make sense of somebody's new choices or a shift to a new identity,
Yeah.
right? And so making room for multiple realities is number one, I would say.
Yeah. Great.
And then bringing in our own humility as
Mhm.
we learn the narrative of what this journey is like for this particular family.
Right. Right. And all the different people in the family, which in which there may be competing experiences.
I think this is the challenge in our field in general, is to really make room for multiple perspectives
Right.
and to be able to have deep empathy for each perspective without making anybody else in the system wrong.
Right. Right. Well, and in the morning, you mentioned that there are two perspectives that we're hearing from, Sydney Trantham and AC Mercer. I'm curious to learn more about your connections with both of them, and how Sydney and AC might provide a particularly powerful lens in helping us frame this conversation.
Yes, well, they're both relatively new to me. I did thorough references for all the speakers that I
Excellent.
have asked to be part of this. I think A.C. Mercer is very open in that he is a trans male and really enjoys teaching and sharing knowledge about gender identity.
Yeah.
So AC is part of a group in the Albany area and has become more well known for these trainings and got wonderful references from people that I contacted. Now, Sydney Trantham is a professor at Lesley College and has a practice in evaluating gender identity, but also teaches and writes and does research on sexual and gender identity, and will be speaking to us in the afternoon on creating a new narrative. So really enjoys looking at helping people move from a story of trauma to a story of empowerment, and sort of creating a new positive narrative of their lives as they shift identities. So I had a wonderful personal reference from somebody who'd attended a workshop, a full-day workshop of Sydney's. And I have spoken to each of these people over the phone, and they are absolutely lovely.
Great.
So I'm really looking forward to tapping into this high level of expertise to hear each of them speak.
Yeah. Sydney has about 15 years of experience working at Fenway as well. I know that there's
that's right,
a connection with the Fenway in Boston. So. And then in the afternoon, I love the way that you've set up a couple of different tracks with the couples therapy track and then the youth and families track. I'm curious for folks that are interested in doing the couples therapy track, what information are you hoping that the couples therapist can get in the sessions?
Well, Stephanie Brandenburg is an EFT therapist who works with all kinds of couples, not just LGBTQ couples, but is planning to focus on the particular issues that are unique to that community, such as the coming out experience and how that affects the couplehood. Both Stephanie and Joseph Wynn, who's another speaker on the topic of couples therapy, asked me not to use the word couple, but relationship, because some of these relationships have more than one partner.
Absolutely.
And so we worked a little with the titles of those two workshops to be more inclusive of people that may have polyamory as part of their system, or choose to use the word relationship for a variety of reasons instead of couple. Now, Joseph Wynn is trained in EFT. He's also trained in the developmental model of couples therapy. And his workshop will address a lot of special topics that these relationships can show up, can have show up in their treatment. So I think between those two workshops, participants will get a lot of exposure to some new ideas and some new ways to approach these presentations in their office.
Yeah, great. Full disclosure, Joe is my supervisor. For sex. Joe is fantastic. He's an amazing presenter. I think that he has a lot of wisdom and a lot of energy to share that wisdom. And I'm excited to meet Steffi as well, and to learn more about her perspective. And you'll have a good relationship.
I think they will both be excellent.
Yeah. And then what about the family and children's track? what are some things that you're hoping that participants of that track will get, other than the
Well,
multiple meanings perspective that you were talking about earlier?
yes. Well, I think both AC and Sydney will have workshops in the afternoon that will expand upon their own work.
Hmm.
And AC works a lot with youth who are questioning their gender
Hmm.
and the youth's families. And so I think those people who work with adolescents, even younger children
Yeah.
who are questioning gender identity, will get a lot out of AC's expertise. And Sydney's work on, the narrative, creating a new narrative, applies to individuals within families and within couples. And so I think that's a track that people can go on if they work with families.
Yeah.
The other two workshops that we have, one of them, which is Julie Mencher, who specializes also in gender and youth,
Hmm.
um, is on the self of the therapist. And that workshop is available to anybody across the board, whether they work with couples or families or
Right.
individuals, to examine their own assumptions, their own biases. And that workshop, I believe, will be more experiential.
Yeah.
And then finally, the workshop that we have by Jane Fleischman is on her research on sexuality and aging in the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Now, she is the only presenter who's not actually a therapist. She's a sex educator. But this is an area of interest because
Yeah.
most people don't know about sexuality and aging in this community. And
Absolutely.
so it's a workshop that will definitely add to the knowledge base of
Sure.
anybody who um, feels a deficit in their knowledge in this area.
Right. There's a lot of ageism that impacts and really prevents us from having healthy conversations about sexuality and aging. And,
That's right.
and yeah, I'm excited to hear more about Jane's presentation. Those of you that don't know, Jane is also significantly involved in ASECT, which is the National Sex Educator Counseling Therapist Organization. So,
That's right. And I should add that we have just gotten 6 credits for ASECT
oh, great.
for this event.
Excellent. And then 6 credits also for LMFTs, social workers, LMHCs,
And licensed psychologists.
and licensed psychologists. Great. And how can people find out more about the conference? How can people register?
Well, on our website, which is coupleandfamilyinstitute.com, the registration is all online, and you can either, right now, let's see, when it's up until the 14th of September, there's an early bird rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I should add that there's also a rate for students and agency clinicians so that we can attract people from multiple settings.
Yep.
And there's a discount for NeoFast members.
Excellent.
So please register by September 14th if you'd like the discounted rate, or right up until the time, space permitting.
Right. And of course, you can register for membership and learn more about our organization at www.neafast.org. Wanted to close our interview with this, and I like asking people in our field this. If you, what are the first 3 pieces of feedback that you give to new therapists?
Well, I welcome new therapists to a really rich and exciting field in which they will grow for a lifetime in their work. I think it is an honor to be in this field, and I have found in my 35 years now in this field a richness to the material, to what it brings to me personally each step of the way. Secondly, I recommend to people that they find a model that they feel a resonance with and learn it thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in graduate school, people learn many models and touch in on lots of different ways of looking at people and at systems.
Yeah.
But myself, I find it very helpful to immerse myself more fully into one model till I really get it.
Yeah.
And then I can make new choices and shift to something else. So
Right.
that's a piece of advice I give people. And then finally, I think finding a specialty niche of some sort
Hmm.
over time really differentiates you in the field.
Yeah.
So that's just a piece of advice if people want to go in the direction of building a private practice.
Right. Right. Thank you so much for sharing this conference, for sharing your wisdom. Again, Saturday, October 26th in Northampton, sexual identity, gender identity, staying current in a rapidly changing landscape. We're excited to see you there. For more information, coupleandfamilyinstitute.com. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. And thank you, Jeremiah. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of the day.